Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new Leadership Playbook with myself, Keshawn Hughes. And
Natalie, Jobity.
today we're here to talk about less grind and more grace as it relates to being leaders, high achievers, people who are still learning what that means. Me, like raising my hand here, what that even looks like, what that can feel like. So we thought this would be a really helpful and important conversation for people who are in our community, who are in our circles, who we coach, our clients, and we want to talk about it today. We want to discuss
Yeah.
it.
It was one of those organic things that from our last, I'll kick off on the 25th,
Love it.
that we just was like, oh, we got to talk about this one. And we just both felt it so strongly. We have so many topics we will cover in this series, but this one just rose to the top. And so we can't wait to dive deeper in it. But let's do our little introductions as usual.
You want to go first today?
I can go first. So my name is Natalie Jobity. I am a transformational leadership coach and personal brand strategist, and I am passionate and enlivened by helping professional, seasoned executives and entrepreneurs unveil their brilliance. It's a term I use all the time because my company is called The Unveiled Way. Unveil their brilliance so that they can step into their influence and actually lead undeniably and unapologetically and unstoppably. So I'm
Yes.
always with my little alliteration things, but honestly, my why is about impact, my impact and the impact of the people I work with. And so I believe that, especially as women, and I work with men too, but my heart space is really have been has been around women because of my journey and because I know of the things I struggle with as a woman, especially a Black immigrant woman in this country. And so I believe that if we are have the empowerment and support and the positive narrative to know what we're designed to do and the impact we're designed to make, that we're more likely to do that. And I want to, my hope and prayer and belief is that with me providing that for others, that they can make their impact that they're divinely designed to make.
Divinely designed to make. Mic drop already. Okay. Thank you, Natalie, for that, your introduction. I'm Keshawn Hughes. I am a certified neuro coach and neuro leadership consultant. I founded my company, Neuro Leadership, which helps companies and individuals alike lead inclusively, healthily, and empowered in an empowered way. So, by understanding the way our brains are designed and the way they work and how they work best, and understanding about that about yourself, and then interpreting that in ways that it can help you interpersonally. And it made a big shift for me. So, my own leadership journey, I experienced burnout, I experienced feeling disconnected, feeling just not inspired by the work that I was skilled and trained to do that I once enjoyed. And out of that, I learned about neuroscience-based leadership, and it changed my life. It changed my approach to leadership. It changed me from the inside out. And
Amen.
so, for companies and people who are ready and willing to take that journey, because it definitely is one,
It's
I
the
help
journey.
guide them through that. And it's been the best decision of my life. I pivoted from corporate work, working 9 to 5 in 2020 in the midst of the pandemic, and started sharing these principles that I've learned about emotional resilience, about how to lead inclusively, like I was saying, and how to connect really with yourself and others. And it's been a powerful walk for me and the other people that I've connected with. So I'm so happy to share that information with you all today under this umbrella of not grinding or less grind. We said less grind, and incorporating more grace into our lives, into the way we lead, into the way we walk into a room, and just be able and how we're able to show up brilliantly in the way that Natalie described, the way we're divinely designed to do.
Yeah, and I like how you said walk into a room because it's something I've been talking about a lot with
Yeah.
my topic of leadership presence. And I want to say to that, to a nod to that, it's about this less grind, more grace is about our
Mm,
posture, not just our physical posture, our heart posture, our mind posture as a leader, as a game changer, change maker. how are we posturing that in a way that's healthy, in a way that's evolved, in a way that's sustainable? So I guess that where I want to go first is, you know, being a recovering high achiever, and Keshawn and I are agreeing about that. You know, I used to believe, and I know many of the women I talk to and work with, we believe that to get to the higher echelons, to the higher levels, that we have to do, go, go, go. And did I just disappear?
You're
Yes.
still here. You're still here. We still hear
Oh,
you.
I can't see myself. My goodness.
I see.
Okay, that was strange. We have to overdo, over deliver, and
Mhm.
overwork because we believe it's about the doing. And so, to me, if I'm thinking of what does grinding look like, right? What so to make it clear to our audience, what do we mean by grinding?
Yes.
Grinding is the hustling, the burning the candle on both ends, the
Mm,
the competitive sort of like I gotta be the faster and best and all that. It's
mhm,
also the thinking that doing more will get the results you want in terms of your qualifications and career aspirations,
mhm.
and about control.
Aha.
And I'll say one more thing and I'll let you go because it's so like
Please, yes, please do. Yes, yes.
it's all about control, right? But
Yes.
nah, we don't want it to be all about control, Janet.
Mhm.
And it's also about not having healthy boundaries.
Ooh, listen, you're just tiptoeing all over my, my growth areas, right? The places that, like I said, I'm still on this leadership journey. And as I learn new things, what helps me really, truly, I would say, embody the lesson in the teaching enough to where I can fall and then get back up and then hopefully continue to climb and
Mm.
have positive results from it. And then that's when I share. And I share even with when I'm in the midst of it. It's just really important to hear grinding put in that way. And I always start to me when I talked about this topic, when we talked about discussing it, I went to Google, dear friend Google, and looked at the definition of grind. And one of the definitions
Mhm.
that was given is hard, dull work. Hard,
Mm.
dull work, because it's the repetitiveness, it's the robotic nature of it. It's
Mhm.
the checking off of the list and just living by that list.
Autopilotness of it.
Yes, of it all. It can be hard and dull. And I would say this is the question that I had for you last week or the week before when we were talking about even discussing this topic is there ever a place for grinding? Is it ever? Because I'm like, well, sometimes because I hear voices in my head. I haven't seen any comments come up yet, but people saying, well, sometimes you need to grind. Sometimes it's important to just push through and just get to the end result because that's
Yeah,
what we're working towards. What's your take on that?
I know that. I'm so glad you brought that back up. I'm torn. And I'll be honest, I'm torn about that question about is there a place to grind? I would say there's a place to work hard.
Ooh.
There's a place to sometimes stretch yourself to achieve a very important goal or vision or aspiration. I would
Mm,
say there's a place to maybe sometimes be a little bit uncomfortable
mhm,
with the boundaries you've set
mhm,
because you're trying to achieve something.
mhm.
But I don't want to call that grinding. I want
Right.
to call that something. It's got to have another name. Like
Yes.
so we're gonna get to the what grace looks like in a few
Yes.
minutes. But
Mhm,
there's got to be. I believe, from my perspective, we don't want to be grinding, but there is a place where we're working hard and maybe overing a little bit to
mhm.
get a job done. Let's say there's a crazy deadline and all this stuff happened, and we have to get this done. Are we going to say, well, you're not gonna work hard and overwork for that particular season of time to
Yes.
get the thing done?
Mhm.
Those of us who care about our impact, who care about our vision, will do that.
Right.
I want to. I think that the grinding part, Keshawn, is
Yes.
a constant
Yes.
hum. Like it's like even the word grind. We
Yes.
said
I feel that.
like
Yes.
it's like an energy that doesn't let up.
It
What
does.
what what I'm saying right now is particular bouts of time or seasons, weeks, whatever days. We may be doing a lot more than we want to, but I
Yeah.
don't think that necessarily has to be grinding.
I'm so glad you explained that again. Repetition is key for learning, right? So I said we had this conversation before. I asked that question then, and now hearing you say it and put it in the context similarly, but I was able to have an aha, I would say. It's there's other experiences, actions that are paired with the difficult work, with the potentially overwork that make it so that it's not grinding, because grinding is dull and it's hard. Other definitions, it's grating, it's crushing.
Yes, yes.
So
It's not restorative.
it's not restorative. And so if I'm working hard collectively, if I'm a part of a team, if it's not all on me, I feel like that's where the entry for healthy boundaries comes in, for where you were talking about, that we want to be able to approach work in a way that is healthy. Bottom line, is this healthy emotionally, mentally, physically? And are we pushing up against a growth edge? Because we can reach an edge. We can reach a point of, okay, where this needs to stop because I'm about to go downhill.
Yeah.
Or is it, there's a discernment that has to happen there. And this is something that's been coming up in coaching with my clients, to discern between healthy discomfort,
Yeah.
helpful discomfort, and harmful discomfort.
Yeah.
It's even called clean or dirty pain. I've seen it as that as well. Like there's clean pain and there's dirty pain. In my opinion, grinding falls into the dirty pain category.
And
And
the unhealthy discomfort.
yes, unhealthy discomfort. It's not healthy. It's not healthy. And
Yeah.
so it takes it can be subtle. I feel like it's helpful to have your success squad,
Yes, yes, yes.
wisdom keepers, guides who can display that for you, who can model that for you, who can help you stay on the healthy path. It's so important because we want it to be sustainable, yes, and even generative and regenerative. That's the area, that's the
Yes.
realm that I want to live in, work in, play in.
I love that regenerative is becoming the buzzword, I think,
It
right?
is.
In this domain of leadership. It's
Yeah.
so interesting because when I was just away in Trinidad last month, and I was visiting these farms, and one of the things one of the estates were talking about, cocoa estates. They were one of the cocoa estate owners were talking about regenerative farming, which I'd never known anything about before. I was like, what is this? But it was so interesting to hear this concept in growing fruits and vegetables and cocoa and all this stuff, and this concept of this ecosystem that you create. Oh my God! And I can get so much deeper, right?
Yes, please go. Yes, deeper. Yes, yes.
I'm getting goosebumps.
Yes.
Healthy, organic, sustainable, leveraging all the resources that are available in constructive, positive ways. And all the goosebumps! My goodness.
Yes, so good.
And this is farming, and when this is done, it's all about the soil, feeding that soil, and when that soil is properly fed, what comes out of it is flourishing and thriving and amazing and bigger and bright. They're even showing us. They showed us examples of plants and trees that were farmed in the healthy regenerative ecosystem, and those that were not, night and day. Like the one looked like kind of like, okay, it's there, I'm surviving, but I'm not. And the other ones are like, haha, here we are. Like it was so. When I was hearing that a month ago, I had not yet heard the term regenerative leadership.
Yes. Oh, that is all about where I first heard the term was through the Neuro Leadership Institute. And they had a framework that showed what leadership can be. It, typically, culturally, is extractive. That's the worst way to be. When we think about systems built on enslavement and not
taking.
Yes, where there's no bidirectional return. It's just literally extractive. Our farming, and let me say this, take a step back. Their conceptualization of these different ways of leading and being interpersonally do come from farming. They come from agriculture. So I know. So it's tied. It's tied because the work, there's nothing new under the sun. So much has already been done before, taught before. We just have to, I love what you said, leverage, reframe, repurpose for who we are in the realms we stay in now. So there's the extractive, there is the degenerative, then
Mm.
there is sustainable, and then there is regenerative. So there
Regenerative.
are four different frameworks.
Yeah.
The second, depletive. Okay. Extractive, depletive, sustainable, regenerative. Those are the four
Mm.
areas. And we can use that as we're thinking about and asking ourselves the question. So much of how we behave and the choices we make, the mindset we set, that then the top down leadership we have as individuals and that comes
Yeah.
outward, can be set with a label, the way we frame something and the way we're able to become aware in the moment. Am I on a regenerative path or a depletive path? It
That's
feels
a
a
great
little
question.
completely different. Let's just ask ourselves the question. Once we have
Yeah.
the labels, once we have the language, we can then more clearly define and understand the steps that we're taking, in my opinion.
I love all that. And the simple way, I guess, to put it, because those words can seem so big and intimidating, is, am I on the grinding path or
Yeah,
the path of grace? That's how
right.
that's what we call it.
So
What we
let's
call
talk
it.
about grace.
Less grind, more
Yes,
grace. So what does
yes,
grace look like?
yes.
And we couldn't come up with a different word at the time. And I got the idea of, because I'll have to give nod to Shay Bynes in a book, Grace Over Grind. It's a Christian-based book that's all
Yeah.
about living by the under the banner of God's grace.
Mhm.
But I was thinking of, actually, just a few minutes before this came on, I thought about, what about more grin, less grind? Like, because,
Oh,
and you know why I said
yes,
more grin, less grind?
your friend. Yes.
Because grinning, so and it really, it's about this. So what is a posture of grace looks like? It's about trusting, and three levels of trust. Trusting the process. And what does the process mean? The How things are unfolding, how the way the universe, God, whatever you believe in, is making things happen. A lot of times, as high achievers, we believe we grind. We in control of so much. The reality is we control very little, if anything at all.
There we
All
go.
we control is how we think about things. Probably that's the most important thing we control. And
Mhm.
so, trusting the process, even though we want an outcome a certain way, it may come out and be unfolded completely different and with an entirely better, greater outcome. So
Yeah.
we trust the process. We trust ourselves.
Mhm.
So we trust ourselves
Mm.
that we have the agency, authority, autonomy to do the thing that we're meant to do. Whether we're executive or entrepreneur, we trust that we have the capabilities, competencies, confidence to do all the things that we're meant to do. And then we trust in the others, in the other people.
That's
So in the
big.
squad, in our colleagues, in our peers, in our subordinates, we trust that they have the agency to do the work, their tasks that are ahead of them in a way that's best suited to them. So that whole trusting part, I think, is a huge part of going with grace over grind.
Absolutely.
And I'll
Mhm.
just say, and I know you want to come in here, but I'll
No,
say
I'm here. I'm listening. I'm learning here.
my
Yes.
other one, I had to write this down because I didn't want to forget it. I think, and when you think of the word grace, and this is where the grin part for me came in, is that posture, heart posture of compassion, empathy, understanding, forgiveness, things that we don't hear in the business work realm. But if one, and this is something I know I have to lean in so much harder on, is
Mm.
if I come from that place, not competition, not me, and a place of we all not it's all not it's not about me, it's about us, it's about we, right? If I
Yes.
come from that place, I am not going to, grinding will not even be aligned with that posture. So it won't even be a thing. It would be more about, okay, I'm going to be authentic. I'm going to go with the flow. And I'm all up. So the word I had in mind when you'd asked me last 2 weeks ago, what would be a word to be anti-grind, to me would be to be in your flow state.
Oh
And
yeah.
so
Yes.
what we know about flow states,
Yes.
when one, like, athletes, when they're in the zone,
Yes. In the
when they
zone.
are in the zone, they are killing it. They are breaking the records. They are like on fire. When a musician is in the flow, they are creating and innovating in real time and making music that we're like, what?
Yeah.
When we as workers and professionals and executives and entrepreneurs are in our flow state, we're bringing our brilliance to the front and we are shining and we are doing things and we're not even feeling any grind because we are flowing. Flowing is the antithesis
Yes.
of that grind. Oh my God, I'm like, look at it again. What is it
Good.
doing?
I hear you. That is the antithesis of that hard, dull work, that crushing, constant, not letting up, unhealthy habit. It's habituated. And
Yeah.
I feel like, okay, so one thing came up when you said grin. So as a Former people pleaser, I'm thinking of grinning and bearing it. When
Ah,
I'm grinding, I'm grinning, but I'm grinning and bearing it. I'm bearing the weight and carrying on,
mm,
carrying too much, way
yeah,
more than my fair share. Typically, sometimes by my own choice,
yeah,
um, where I remember when I was in grind mode in corporate and everywhere in life, I just felt like I was the most capable just because of what I saw. And I trusted myself, I think, but I did not have the trust for others. That was clear. I just didn't trust others.
yeah,
And so doing the work to even understand, and this is work that I do helping my clients as well, what are the building blocks for trust?
yeah,
Helping people piecemeal it out, have small exercises where they can learn to build trust in others. Once again, be discerning to trust others, because
yeah.
I believe that grace happens within an environment. Like you said, it happens within an ecosystem.
Ecosystem.
It does. And to be realistic, and I've been included in this as well. I've been on teams that do not, there's no culture for grace.
Right.
Grace is cultural, I will say as well. It's a culture.
And in the culture of the environment, yes.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I'm also thinking of culture as the Neuro Leadership Institute defines culture as shared everyday habits. Shared everyday habits. It's
Mm,
just what we habituate. So we can get into organizations, we can be on teams, we can be in families where the shared everyday habits do not incorporate anything graceful. It's like
right.
you are rewarded for grinding, you are
Absolutely.
rewarded for doing more than your fair share. You
Yeah.
are expected to show up and show out without any pat on the back.
Boundaries or
Exactly.
honoring of, yeah, all of it. All
Right.
of it.
Yes. Yes. So it's about also cultivating a culture first with self. Culture starts with one person. You can have, start your own culture. You know what I'm saying? Your own household culture. And my house is my body. So that's what I had to learn on my own neuro leadership journey, like how to be best for myself. This house, this home that houses my spirit, that houses my mind, my ideas, my creativity. How am I treating this house? And
Mm-hmm.
it will be expressed outwardly. So
Absolutely.
in my one-on-one interactions and then one-to-many interactions. So when you said also identifying what it is that we can control, there's so little that we can control, but typically what we're told is to start with ourselves. So that's where we can start.
Our
And
responses, our behavior, the way we see things, our perspective, we
yes,
control that.
yes, yes, starting there and believing, because it's inevitable, it will be expressed outwardly.
You
So
know, go
yes.
ahead.
No, that's it. That's that.
Well, I want to speak back. I think the trust thing, and I have so many pings in my brain, but I want to say, so a great, and I don't have it in front of me, but a great acronym and framework for building trust. Brene Brown's
Let's talk
her
about
braving her braving acronym. The B
oh
is boundaries. The R,
yes.
I forget what the R is. I know V is vault. In terms, I mean, so it's,
Let
if
me look
just
it up.
Google the braving acronym in terms of, that's a whole framework she developed about trusting self and trusting others.
Yes.
So I want to say that the other thing in terms of the trust, it's about, I think I just forgot my point. So I was working with a client yesterday, and it's funny, she's the one, and we've been working for almost 3 years now, and oh my God, she's evolving. And yesterday was really such a confirming moment for me as her coach, to hear her say something like, she just did a killer huge initiative at her company. She led. All the C-suite people were in attendance, were giving her rave reviews. She had like a breakout, like I am the star moment, right?
Wonderful.
And as I'm having a reflect on the takeaways, one of the things she said, and I was so happy to hear her say this: I
Mhm.
trusted myself, I trusted the process, and she said the exact thing I just said. And
Yes.
I did not tell her or prepare her. I mean, we talked about it in
Right.
the past, but I'm saying,
Yes.
like, oh my God, that she could be evolved in a way that she put that into practice,
Mhm.
embodied those behaviors, and to see what it did, because she's the person who's like, she's a high achiever, she's a grinder, she's like, usually like, I gotta do it all, I gotta be in the trenches. And she said, Natalie, I had to release the need to be in the trenches and
Ooh.
take the burden that I didn't have to carry, and trust that the others could carry the burden that I gave them to carry. And oh my God,
Mm. So
so in trusting all those three things,
good.
this
Mhm.
phenomenal thing launched, and it launched perfectly, amazingly,
Yes.
brilliantly,
Divinely, I would say.
divinely,
Yes.
divinely. And that's back to going in with the flow state.
Yes.
And I think so much, all of us, each of us, we are not taught how to live by flow, because
No.
all the structures and the narratives and the cultures that we were brought up in believed in hard work is how you get accomplishment. I was taught like you got to have degrees, and like,
Mhm.
only in this season of life, I want to say this decade or whatever, this time, we
Mm.
started to rethink a lot of the things. Do we have to have degrees to be successful? Do we have to have, hard, grind, work, get A's? Do we, like, all the things that I grew up believing and thought I had to do? I'm like, bring on my disruptor. Let's get
Yes.
rid of it all. Let's do it a better way. A way
Yes.
that's more sustainable, regenerative, restorative, like, and you back
Holistic.
all the points that you're saying.
Yes, absolutely. A more holistic way. That was according to just different lessons that I've learned about our brains and the way we're wired. When we're born, our brains are completely open and trusting. And as we are taught language
Mm,
and how to survive in the cultures, in the families, in the systems that we navigate, that's when our left brain orientation comes online. And it is very
mm,
linear, it is very analytical. We're taught how to be that. That's when, and actually, as we're developing, the cells, when we're born, they're all the same. And
yeah.
as we develop, they begin to change shape,
Mm,
change in the way they look, activate, and then also perform. So
mm,
literally, you're changing from the inside out. And so we then, I would say, come to different stages in life. It could be a health crisis, it could be
yeah.
awakening, it could,
Spiritual crisis, yeah.
yes, where you're like, I I think I want a different path. I want to do things differently. I don't know what that different is. And we have to rewire our brains. We have to then learn how to use that whole
Unlearn.
other side of
Yeah.
our brain, that whole right side, to have a more holistic lived experience, because it's all good. We can all work together for our good. We have to then be taught, shown, modeled,
Yeah.
supported as we do that, because it can feel scary. It can feel uncomfortable. We can be unsure. It causes
Yeah.
uncertainty as we're stepping out, particularly as entrepreneurs. The path is
Oh my God. Talk
okay.
about what you don't control.
We're paving as we're working, right? And so I have to learn how to utilize that right side oriented, or that right sided circuitry, which
Yeah.
is connected to all, that knows that how to be compassionate towards self and others. That gray side, I would say,
Yeah.
mostly lives in that right side orientation. And also, the last part of our brain that develops, the prefrontal cortex, which is right behind our forehead, that's what gives us that capacity as well, our executive functioning.
Executive
Being
functioning.
empathetic, being compassionate, those are executive functions. When we
Mm.
are not operating in that space, we're more in, people, older terms call it reptilian brain. We're more
Survival. Survival.
survival brain. We're more
Mm.
self-preservation oriented, or either transactionally oriented. And
Yeah.
so we want to act, okay, it's all included. There's sometimes when we have to preserve self. There's other times when we need to act transactionally. But most of the time, it can all be watered and cultivated and thrive when we add on to it that empathy, the compassion, the vision,
Hmm.
the
The
pause,
trust.
the
The
trust.
trust. And the honoring
Mm.
of the with something else I said, letting go. This is something I am still working on. It's such a growth edge for me. Letting go of my attachment to the outcome the way I thought it
Woo,
should be. Oh
that
my
right
God.
there.
That is one that I am like, because I'm like, I see it this way, and it's not going this way. I'm like, I don't, and my brain is always like trying to make connections. It's
Yes.
like, okay, I don't understand. I don't understand. And it's like literally like, okay, let it go, Natalie, let it go. You're not God.
Yes.
God is the master of it all. And I
Yes.
cannot get in his brain and be like, what is he doing right now? So I gotta be like,
Right.
Natalie, just trust. And even that's another part of the trust I didn't even mention. Trust. When I
Mhm.
said trust the process is partly related to who is in control, who really in control of
Yes.
everything. And I have to trust that even the outcome that I want or I think it should be or the way it should look, if it's different, to not be attached to the way I see it. That is a growth
Ooh.
edge, I think. So I know for me, will probably
Hmm.
continue to be till the rest of my life, because I so want things the way, who doesn't? We want it to be what we
Yes.
want it to be. And
Mhm.
my life has so been like, oh my God, like my whole life has been so unpredictable.
Yes.
You would think by now I'd be like, nah, they don't get attached. But I'm still like, but I want this, whatever. Yeah.
Letting go is so powerful. Because it makes us vulnerable. And I now learned and understand and believe actually that vulnerability can be a superpower.
It's apps. If we know how to wield that weapon,
yes. Hold on. Oh, okay, that's a whole nother talk. We got to add that to the schedule.
Yeah. And we have time.
Yes, we are at time. I did want to just one more tie in when you talk about, I feel like it just ties to nature. So much of what we're talking about, nature has a natural flow from season to season, from night to day. If we can just really think of ourselves as a part of nature and not separate from it, we are nature.
Yes.
If we can just consider that in times when we are grinding, a way to be able to step out of the grind is to put ourselves smack dab in the middle of nature.
Yes.
Observe.
Oh, that's another level of depth that we could go down this path with, because I think this whole idea of, I have a whole, like, oh my God, the whole idea of us being a part of nature and flowing with the seasonal cycles.
Yes.
Because our lives, and if we could go into like even morning and night, and everything about life is seasonal, is cyclical. Our growth is cyclical. Yes. And so if we can embody and believe and what's the word I'm looking for? Like, go with the flow of nature and life. Everything that we do, everything will be so much easier. There will be no need for grind. Yes, because it would flow.
Grace.
Think of what flowing is. I'm sorry, we could go. Flowing is about organically, no structure. Yes. Going where the rocks are, navigating.
Leads us. Yes, absolutely.
It's ease and effortless expression of energy. Whereas grinding is the opposite of that.
It also, in a way, to me, is more predictable. It's like we know what season comes after the next. We know that day comes after night. And so it's almost like when we are trying to grind, and when we are grinding, we're forcing our outcomes to happen. Whereas there are natural outcomes that come from us showing up and being our best selves. There are natural, predictable outcomes.
And better ones. Because imagine trying to force night to come before night comes. That's like that, right?
Like, that's such a great metaphor for grinding. We are trying to force night to come before it's time.
We can try.
We want it to be. We want
exactly.
So what night brings, or vice versa.
Yeah, we can try. We can make the house dark, shut all the things, put on the lights. But our inner, everyone has that inner, the spark, the soul, the spirit, the knowing. There's gonna be a part of you where it's gonna be so misaligned to be like, okay, everything like that night shit is like night, but it's not night. You can't make it be night. And so we cannot grind an outcome. We cannot grind to a result. We can try.
Yes.
And we can get a result, but is it the best result in the best way? No, never will be.
And you can, I would say, our bodies will let us know it's not the healthy way. It's not ideal. It's, once again, not sustainable, going all the way back to those first talking points that we talked about.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's 1:34, girl. We got to wrap up.
Yes, we have to go. But I did want to end with because I talked about the definition of grind. So the definition that I found for grace is simple elegance or refinement of movement. Just refinement of movement.
Well, right? I think that's what to me that speaks to the flow. Like my definition is flow. I mean, I feel like my thing is flow. I love elegance. I love the word. And even the word elegance. Elegance. It flows on the mouth.
It does.
The word grind is like grr. I have to go grr. Like, right. So flow, elegance. What's the word you use?
Refinement of movement.
Refinement,
elegance, simple. I love the simplicity because it's just like clockwork. It's simple, it's elegant, it's refined, and you are moving. Trust the process. Movement is happening.
Yes.
You're in a race.
All right, people. This was as always. Oh gosh, any questions, any comments, any feedback? I don't know who's on today. Oh, I think I see. Hold on a second.
I was
Let me,
able to put the definition of braving that you mentioned. That was so helpful.
okay,
Yeah,
that's
so
what I'm
that's
saying.
in the,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
in I didn't
Oh,
see any.
great, Rick. I'm so glad you did that. Yes. Go
Yeah,
look that up, people. Yeah. Oh my God, that's its own thing right there.
that is. That
Well,
is.
I don't see any comments on my
I
end.
don't either.
But
Thank
it's
you.
okay. You all can
Yes,
listen to the replays. As you know, we want to say thank you for all you who are listening to the replay and heard all this. We would love to hear your feedback in the YouTube and the LinkedIn replay of this event.
yes.
And tune in 2 weeks later on May. Hold on a second.
We
May 23rd.
Yes, every other Tuesday, May 23rd at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. I'm putting the links to offerings that both of Natalie and I have. You can see in the background, Natalie has her book. It's Your Time to Shine, Girl. Please pick it up. It's filled with gems, just like she was speaking of today. And I have an offering as well. It's a leadership membership service where there's community, there's trainings, there's opportunities to coach, and it's just a wonderful place to be if you want to grow in these concepts and lead in more grace, lead with more flow and ease.
I
That's
love it. I feel like I want to put my leadership quiz up in there too. Hold on a second. Let me get it real quick. Because that leadership, I'll just say it real quickly. That whole idea of leadership presence and leadership
yes.
culture, I am building a whole.
Ooh,
It's like its own thought leadership from my perspective, and I am
yes.
just in the flow state of it. Back
Good.
to our points here, it feels so aligned with all my experience, my image consulting, my personal branding, and now coaching. It is all coming together in a very natural way. And so that's speaking of, I didn't grind to make this happen. That
That's
just flowed out of me. All of it just flowing out of me. That's
mhm,
what we're talking
mhm.
about, people.
That's
When we're in that state is when our brilliance truly is magnificent.
and it's healthy. So you get the best. You get brilliance, magnificence, health, and so much more for you and everyone you serve. So thank you all so much for joining, tuning again, as Natalie said, on May 23rd. And we look forward to connecting with you online on our different platforms. Enjoy.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.